Welcome, crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and otherworldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high. Get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess, TessaTNT, and I am broadcasting from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you out there, wherever you may be listening Beyond The Omniverse tonight. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, feel free to look We Are Paradox Media up basically wherever you listen to your podcasts, and you should be able to find us there. Alright, so I decided not to do TikToks tonight. My kids aren't going to school tomorrow. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I just would rather them stay here and watch some, educational videos with me instead of going to school. So they're out there playing video games and stuff, so I didn't want to mess up the feed with that. So I figured we'd finish this story in You Like It Darker and then move on to some Reddit. Let me make sure really quick that the sound is not too loud. Yeah, looks good. 3. On a windy October day in the fall of 1995, Phil slid behind the wheel of his car for the last time. Not a Chevrolet Jalopy or a Buick these days, but a Cadillac Seville, equipped with all the bells and whistles. "I hope to Christ I don't kill anybody, Frank," he said to the dog that wasn't there. He was headache-free for the time being, but a coldness, sort of distantness, had begun to inhabit his fingers and toes. He drove through town at 20 miles an hour, increasing his speed to 30 when he left downtown. Several cars swerved around him, horns blaring, "Eat shit and die!" Phil told each of them, "Bark if you agree, Frank." On Route 111, the traffic thinned away to almost nothing, and he was surprised when he passed the bright yellow sign reading, 2 miles to the answer man. He was not. Why else was he risking his life and the lives of anyone he happened to meet going the other way? Nor did he believe it was the spreading black rot in his brain sending out false information. He came to the next one soon after, bright blue, answer man, 1 mile. And there, just over the rise, on the outskirts of Curry Township, was the table, and the bright red umbrella. Phil pulled over and turned off the engine. He grabbed his cane and struggled out from behind the wheel. "You stay there, Frank. This won't take long." As he was surprised to see the answer man look just the same. Same bright eyes, same thinning hair, same clothes. He was not. There was just one change Phil could see, although it was hard to be sure with his vision doubling and sometimes trebling. There was only a single sign on the answer man's table. It read, "All answers free." He sat down in the client's chair with a grunt and a grimace. "You're just the same." "So are you just, Phil." Phil laughed. "Well, the other one, why don't you?" A stupid question, he supposed, but why not? Today all the answers were free. "It's true, inside, you are just the same." "If you say so, but I have my doubts. Have you still got your big clock in your bag?" "Yes, but today I won't need it." "Freebie Friday, is it?" The answer man smiled. "It's Tuesday, just, Phil." "I know that. It was an impotent question. Are you familiar with those?" "I'm familiar with every kind of question. What's yours?" Phil decided he no longer wanted to ask why me. It was the answer man would have said another impotent question. It was him because he was him. There was no other reason, nor was he curious about how long he would live. He might see the snowfly, but it was a sure thing he wasn't going to be around for the spring melt. There was only one thing he was curious about. Do we go on after we die? Do we go on? Yes. Grayness started to come, closing in around them very slowly. At the time, the answer man began to recede, also very slowly. Bill didn't mind. There was no headache. That was a relief, and the foliage, what he could still see of it, was very beautiful. In fall, the trees burned so bright at the end of the cycle, and since all the answers were free, is it heaven we go to? Is it hell? Is it reincarnation? Are we still ourselves? Do we remember? Will I see my wife and son? Will it be good? Will it be awful? Are there dreams? Is there sorrow or joy or any emotion? The answer man, almost lost in the gray, said, yes. Phil came around behind the wheel of his Cadillac, surprised to find he wasn't dead. He felt okay for the time being, actually pretty good. No headache, no pain in his hands or feet. He started the engine. Do you think I can get us back home in one piece, Frank, and without killing someone? Bark once for yes, twice for no. Frank barked once, so it was yes. It was yes. This story was for Jonathan Leonard. The next chapter is Afterward. Oh wow, we're like basically at the end there. Well, it appears this Afterward is not too long. I'm sure we can get through this one too, and then mosey on over to Reddit. What do you think? One day while I was taking my morning walk, listening to the Jeff Healey band playing Highway 49 and thinking of nothing but how cool that slide guitar solo is, I saw two green plastic figures wearing red caps. They were flanking the road and bore the sign, "Slow, Children at Play." The story Rattlesnakes came into my mind fully blown. The only thing I didn't know in that moment of conception was that an old friend from Cujo, a novel I'd written long ago, would be the main character. That's how it works for me sometimes. The story will arrive fully formed, just waiting for the right trigger to declare itself. It's a very cool thing. I rarely know the details. The elderly cop in Rattlesnakes, Andy Peely, came out of nowhere, or how the stories are supposed to finish up. Part of the joy, for me at least, is in the discovery. Why this process works or how it works is a complete mystery to me. Danny Coughlin's bad dream was like that. One day while getting dressed with nothing on my mind but a bowl of cereal and taking my dog for a walk, I thought, what would happen if a man had a single psychic flash, a dream that showed him where a body was buried? Would anyone believe him, or would they think he was the killer? That was while I was putting on my shirt. By the time I was pulling on my jeans, I was thinking about an obsessive cop, sort of like Inspector Havert in Les Miserables, hounding my protagonist. The rest of the story fell into place. I didn't know my cop, Halbert instead of Javert, would have a counting obsession. He started doing it pretty much on his own. I simply followed that peculiar thread. Does that make me a storyteller or a stenographer like William Davis in The Dreamers? Maybe it's both. Am I curious about the process? Since it's played a big part in my life, of course I am. I've written about writers in my fiction, and I've written about the act of writing in nonfiction, but I still don't understand it. I don't even understand why people need stories or why I, among many others, fail to write them. All I know is that the exhilaration of leaving ordinary day-to-day life behind and bonding with people who don't exist seems to be a part of almost every life. Imagination is hungry and needs to be fed, and sometimes, again like William Davis in The Dreamers, I actually see the words even before I write them. The first paragraphs of Red Screen and Finn existed weeks and months before I actually put them down. I could see every period in common. Does that put me on the spectrum, as they say? Maybe, even probably, but who gives a shit? Storytelling has entertained me and others over a number of years, and that makes me happy. As to why so many of my stories are about dark matters, that's another subject. Must I apologize for my material? I think not. Francisco Goya did an etching which showed himself surrounded by fantastical creatures as he dozed and called it, "The sleep of reason produces monsters." I've always thought such sleep and such monsters are a necessary component of sanity. Check out the first line of Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House. She says it well. Horror stories are best appreciated by those who are compassionate and empathetic. A paradox, but a true one. I believe it is the unimaginative among us, those incapable of appreciating the dark side of make-believe, who have been responsible for most of the world's woes. In stories of the supernatural and paranormal, I have tried especially hard to show the world as it is and to tell the truth about the America I know and love. Some of those truths are ugly, but as the poem says, scars become beauty marks when there is love. Most of these stories are quite new, and the longest of them have never been published. I don't need to delve into the provenance of most. That would amount to no more than a tiresome recitation of where I was when each idea presented itself. If I could even remember, that is. The only other one worth mentioning is The Answer Man. My nephew, John Leonard, dug around in my old stuff, a lot of it unfinished and long forgotten. He made a photocopy of one particular 6-page fragment with a note attached saying it was too good not to finish. I read it and thought he was right. Those first pages were written when I was 30. I finished it when I was 75. While working on it, I had the oddest sense of calling into the canyon of time and listening for the echo to come back. Does that even make sense? I don't know. I just know it's how I felt. I've been called prolific, which constant readers of my work consider a good thing, and critics of it sometimes consider a bad one. I never meant to be. I never meant not to be. I've done what was given to me to do, and mostly it's been a joy to me. The only drawback, call it the fly in the ointment, or the fatal flaw if you want to be highfalutin, is that the execution has never, no, not one single time, been as splendid as the original concept. The only 2 times I even came close to getting it all were in 2 prison stories. Excuse me. The Green Mile and Rita Hayworth in Shawshank Redemption. All the others fell short of what I wanted for them. Even with long novels such as It, The Stand, and Under the Dome, I finished with the sense that a better writer would have done a better job. Still, on measure, I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm proud of my short fiction, probably because they have always been hard for me. I can't begin to name all the editors who worked on them and made them better, but I can thank Julie Hughley for digging out literally dozens of old stories, most of which were terrible, a couple of which begged to be finished. Can also thank John Leonard, who brought the long-forgotten Answer Man story to my attention. I can thank both of my sons for collaborating with me and bringing their own unique talents to bear. Joe has collaborated with me on two stories, Throttle and In the Tall Grass. Owen collaborated with me on Sleeping Beauties, one of my all-time favorite novels. I can thank my other collaborators, Stuart Onan, Richard Pismar, and the late Peter Straub. To work with other writers is always a risk, but in each case I reaped great rewards. I have to thank my longtime editor, Nan Graham, and Liz Darhensoff, my agent. She stepped into the late Chuck Verrill's place and took a weight off my shoulders. Thanks are due to Robin Firth, my tireless researcher and my friend. Thanks most of all to my wife, Tabitha, who keeps me grounded. She can be both sweet and tart, sometimes in the same breath, but she's always whip smart. It was she who suggested that I needed to say more about Danny Coughlin's brother and pointed out I had more work to do about COVID and rattlesnakes. Great thanks to you, dear readers, for allowing me to inhabit your imaginations and your nerve endings. You like it darker? Fine, so do I, and that makes me your soul brother. P.S. The first line of The Haunting of Hill House is as follows. No live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed to, by some, to dream. P.P.S. The Leonard Cohen song from which I got the title of this book is You Want It Darker. Apologies for changing the verb. April 23, 2023. The music room. The Ederbys were in their music room, so they called it, although it was really just the spare bedroom. Once they had thought it would be little James or Jill Enderby's nursery, but after 10 years of trying, it seemed increasingly unlikely that a baby deer would arrive out of nowhere and into the here. They had made their peace with childlessness. At least they had work, which was a blessing in a year when men were still standing in breadlines. There were fallow periods, it was true, but when the job was on, they could afford to think of nothing else, and they both liked it that way. Mr. Enderby was reading the New York Journal American, a new daily, not even halfway through its first year of publication. It was sort of a tabloid and sort of not. He usually began with the comics, but when he and Mrs. Enderby were on the job, he turned to the city news first, scanning through the stories quickly, especially the police blotter. Mrs. Enderby sat at the piano, which had made a wedding gift from her parents. Occasionally she stroked a key, but did not press any. Tonight the only music in the music room was the symphony of nighttime traffic on the 3rd Avenue, which came in through the open window. 3rd Avenue, 3rd floor. A good apartment in a sturdy brownstone. They rarely heard their neighbors above and below, and their neighbors rarely heard them, which was all to be good. From the closet behind them came a single thump, then another. Mrs. Enderby spread her hands as if to play, but when the thump ceased, she put her hands in her lap. Still not a peep about our pal George Timmins, Mr. Enderby said, rattling the paper. Perhaps you should check the Albany Herald, she said. I believe the newsstand on Lexington and 60th carries it. No need, he said, turning to the funnies at last. The Journal American is good enough for me. If Mr. Timmins has been reported missing in Albany, let those interested search for him there. That's fine, dear, said Mrs. Enderby. I trust you. There was really no reason not to. To date, the work had gone swimmingly. Mr. Timmins was their sixth guest in the specially reinforced closet. Mr. Enderby chuckled. The Katzenjammer kids are at it again. This time they've caught Der Captain fishing illegally, shooting a net from a cannon, in fact. It's quite amusing. Shall I read it to you? Before Mrs. Enderby could answer, another thump came from the closet, then faint sounds that might have been shouts. It was difficult to tell, unless one point one's ear right up against the wood, and she had no intention of doing that. The piano bench was as close to Mr. Timmins as she intended to get, until it was time to dispose of him. I wish he'd stop. He will, dear, soon enough. Another thump as if to refute this. That's what you said yesterday. It seems I was premature, said Mr. Enderby, and then, oh gosh, Dick Tracy is once more on the hunt for Pruneface. Pruneface gives me the willies, Mrs. Enderby said without turning. I wish Detective Tracy would put him away for good. That will never happen, dear. People claim to root for the hero, but it's the villains they remember. Mrs. Enderby made no reply. She was waiting for the next thump. When it came, if it came, she would wait for the one after that. The waiting was the worst part. The poor man was hungry and thirsty, of course. They had ceased feeding and washing him 3 days ago, after he had signed the last check, the one that emptied his account. They had emptied his wallet at once of almost $300. In a depression as deep as this one, 300 was a jackpot, and his watch might add as much as 30 more to their earnings, although she admitted to herself that might be a trifle optimistic. Mr. Timmins' checking account at Albany National had been the real motherlode, $1,200. Once he was hungry enough, he had been happy to sign several checks made to cash and with the notation business expenses written in the proper spot on each one. Somewhere a wife and kiddies might be depending on that money when father didn't come home from his trip to Manhattan, but Mrs. Enderby did not allow herself to dwell on that. She preferred to imagine Mrs. Timmins having a rich mama and papa in Albany's Mansion District. A generous couple right out of a Dickens novel. They would take her in and care for her and her children, little boys who might be endearing scamps like Hans and Fritz, the Katzenjammer kids. Sluggo broke a neighbor's window and is blaming it on Nancy, Mr. Enderby said with a chuckle. I swear he makes the Katzenjammers look like angels. That awful hat he wears, Mrs. Enderby said. Another thump from the closet, and a very hard one from a man who had to be on the verge of starvation. But Mr. Timmins had been a big one, even after a generous dose of chloral hydrate in his glass of dinner wine. He had nearly overpowered Mr. Enderby. Mrs. Enderby had had to help. She sat on Mr. Timmins' chest until he quieted. Unladylike, but necessary. The night the window on the 3rd Avenue had been shut, as it always was when Mr. Enderby brought home a guest for dinner. He met them in the bars. Very gregarious was Mr. Enderby, and very good at singling out businessmen who were alone in the city, fellows who were also gregarious and enjoyed making new friends, especially new friends who might become new clients of one business or another. Mr. Enderby judged them by their suits, and he always had an eye for a gold watch chain. Now came a fusillade of thumps accompanied by more of those shrieks, muffled but rather chilling. Bad news, Mr. Enderby said, a frown creasing his brow. Mrs. Enderby stiffened on the piano bench and turned to face him. What is it? Ming the Merciless has imprisoned Flash Gordon and Del Arden in the radium mines of Mongo. There are these creatures that look sort of like alligators. Now from the closet came a faint wailing cry. Within its soundproof confines, it must have been a shriek almost loud enough to rupture the poor man's vocal cords. How could Mr. Timmons still be strong enough to voice such a howl? He had already lasted a day longer than any of the previous 5, and his somehow gruesome vitality had begun to prey on Mrs. Enderby's nerves. She had been hoping that tonight would see the end of him. The rug in which he was to be wrapped was waiting in their bedroom, and the panel truck with Enderby Enterprises painted on the side was parked just around the corner, fully gassed and ready for another trip to the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. When they were first married, there had actually been an Enderby Enterprises. Depression, what the Journal American had taken to calling the Great Depression, had put an end to that 2 years ago. Now they had this new work. "Dell is afraid," continued Mr. Enderby, "and Flash is trying to buck her up. He says Dr. Zarkov will." Then came more thumps, 10, maybe a dozen, and accompanied by more of those shrieks, muffled but still rather chilly. Mrs. Enderby could imagine blood beating Mr. Timmons' lips and dripping from his split knuckles. She could imagine how his neck would have grown scrawny and how his formerly plump face would have stretched long, as his body gobbled the fat and musculature there in order to stay alive. But no, a body couldn't cannibalize itself to stay alive, could it? The idea was as unscientific as phrenology. And how thirsty he must be by now. "It's so annoying," she burst out. "I hate it that he just goes on and on and on. Why did you have to bring home such a strong man, dear?" "Because he was also a well-to-do man," Mr. Enderby said mildly. "I could see that when he opened his wallet to pay for our second round of drinks. What he's contributed will keep us for 3 months. 5 if we stretch it." Thump and thump and thump. Mrs. Enderby put her fingers to the delicate hollows of her temples and began to rub. Mr. Enderby looked at her sympathetically. "I can put a stop to it if you like. He won't be able to struggle much in his current state, certainly not after having expended so much energy. A quick slash with your sharpest butcher knife, of course. If I do the deed, you will have to do the cleanup. It's only fair." Mrs. Enderby looked at him, shocked. "We may be thieves, but we are not murderers." "That is not what people would say if we were caught." He spoke apologetically, but firmly enough, just the same. Timmons came from Albany, and people who came from there get what they deserve. She clasped her hands in her lap of her red dress tightly enough to whiten the knuckles, and looked straight into her husband's eyes. "If we were called into the dock, I would hold my head up and tell the judge and the jury that we were victims of circumstance." "And I'm sure you would be very convincing, dear." Another thump from behind the closet door, and another cry. Gruesome. That was the word for his vitality, the exact one. Gruesome. "But we are not murderers. Our guests simply lack sustenance, as do so many in these terrible times." "We don't kill them. They simply fade away," said Mrs. Enderby. Another shriek came from the man Mr. Enderby had brought home from McSorley's over a week ago. It might have been words, it might have been "for the love of God." "It won't be long now," Mr. Enderby said. "If not tonight, then tomorrow, when we won't have to go back to work for quite a while, and yet—" He looked at him in that same steady way, hands clasped. "And yet?" "Harvey enjoys it, I think. Not this part, but the actual moment when we take them, as a hunter takes an animal in the woods." She considered this. "Perhaps I do, and I certainly enjoy seeing what they have in their wallets." It reminds me of the treasure hunts Papa used to put on for me and my brother when we were children. But afterward, she sighed, I was never good at waiting. More thumps. Mr. Enderby turned to the business section. He came from Albany, and people who come from there get what they deserve. Play something, dear, that will cheer you up. So she got her sheet music out of the piano bench and played I'll Never Be the Same. Then she played I'm in a Dancing Mood and The Way You Look Tonight. Mr. Enderby applauded and called for an encore on that one, and when the last notes died away, the thumps and cries from the soundproof and specially reinforced closet had ceased. Music, Mr. Enderby proclaimed. It hath powers to soothe the savage beast. That made them laugh together comfortably, the way people do when they have been married for many years and have come to know each other's minds. So, that appears to be the end of it. Here we have more from the author. We have If It Bleeds, The Outsider, The Life of Chuck, Never Flinch, The Gwyndy Trilogy, Storm of the Century. Keep reading for a preview of Never Flinch by Stephen King. Okay. One. Did I already say the title? It's Trig. March and the weather's miserable. The Straight Circle meets in the basement of the Beale Street Methodist Church every weekday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's technically a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, but plenty of alcoholics also attend. Straight Circle is usually packed. Its calendar spring has been for almost a week. But in Buckeye City, sometimes known as the second mistake on the lake, Cleveland being the first, actual spring comes late. When the meeting lets out, a fine drizzle is hanging in the air. By nightfall, it will thicken and turn to sleet. 2 or 3 dozen attendees gather near the butt can by the entrance and light up, because freebasing nicotine is one of 2 addictions left to them. And after an hour in the basement, they need that hit. Others, the majority, turn right and head for the Flame, a coffee shop a block down. Coffee is the other addiction they can still indulge. One man is stopped by Reverend Mike, who also attends this meeting and many others on a regular basis. The Rev is a recovering opioid addict. In meetings, he attends 2 or 3 every day, weekends included. He introduces himself by saying, I love God, but otherwise I'm just another fiend. This always gets nods and murmurs of approval, although some old-timers find it a bit tiresome. They call him Big Book Mike for his habit of quoting verbatim long passages from the AA handbook. Now the Rev gives the man a soul shake. Not used to seeing you around these parts, Trig. You must live upstate. Trig doesn't, but he doesn't say so. He has his reasons for going to meetings out of the city where recognition is unlikely, but today was an emergency. Hit a meeting or drink, and after taking the first drink, all choices would be gone. He knows this from personal experience. Mike puts a hand on the other man's shoulder. In your share, Trig, you sounded upset. Trig is a childhood nickname. It's how he introduces himself at the start of meetings, even at out-of-town AA and NA. He rarely speaks other than that initial identification. In tag team meetings, he mostly says, I just want to listen today, but this afternoon he raised his hand. I'm Trig, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Trig, the group responded. They were in the basement instead of the church, but there's still that revival meeting call and response. Straight Circle is, in fact, The Church of the Crashed and Burned. I just want to say that I'm pretty shaken up today. I don't want to say any more, but I had to share that much, and that's all I've got. There were murmurs of thanks, Trig, and hang in there and keep coming back. Now Trig tells the Rev he's upset because he found out he lost someone he knew. The Rev asks for more details, prize for them actually, but all Trig will say is that the person he's mourning died in lockup. I'll pray for him, Rev says. Thanks, Mike. Trig starts away, but not toward the flame. He walks 3 blocks and climbs the steps to the public library. He needs to sit and think about the man who died on Saturday, who was murdered on Saturday, was shanked on Saturday in a prison shower. He finds a vacant chair in the periodicals room and picks up a copy of the local paper, just to have something to hold. He opens it to a page or story about a lost dog recovered by Jerome Robinson of the Finders Keepers Agency. There's a picture of a smiling and handsome young black man with his arm around some kind of big dog. Maybe a Labrador Retriever. The headline is one word: found. Trig stares through it, thinking. His real name was in this same paper 3 years ago, but no one has made the connection between that man and the one who attends out-of-town recovery meetings. Why would they, even if there had also been a picture of him, which there wasn't? The man had a slightly graying beard and wore contacts. This version is clean-shaven, wears glasses, and looks younger. Quitting the booze will do that. He likes the idea of being someone new. It also weighs on him. That is the paradox he lives with. That and thinking about his father, which he does more and more frequently these days. Let it go, he thinks. Forget it. That is on March 24th. Forgetting lasts just 13 days. 2. On April 6th, Trig sits in the same periodicals room chair staring at the feature story in today's Sunday paper. The headline doesn't just speak, it shouts. Buckeye Brandon, murdered prison inmate, may have been innocent. Trig has read the feature and listened to Buckeye Brandon's podcast 3 times. It was the self-proclaimed outlaw of the airwaves who broke the story, and according to Buckeye, there was no may have been about it. Is the story true? Trig thinks that, given the source, it must be. What you're thinking of doing is crazy, he tells himself, which is true. If you do it, you can never go back, he tells himself. That's also true. Once you start, you must keep on, he tells himself. And that's truest of all. His father's mantra, you have to push through to the bitter end. No flinching, no turning away. And what would it be like? What would it be like for him to do such things? He needs to consider some more, not just to get clarity on what he's thinking of doing, but to put a space of time between what he found out, courtesy of Buckeye Brandon, also this feature article, and the acts, the horrors he may commit, so no one will make the connection. He finds himself remembering the headline about the young man who recovered the stolen dog. It was simplicity itself. Found. All Trig can think about is what he's lost, what he did, and the amends he must make. And that story is Never Flinch. About the author. Stephen King is the author of more than 60 books, all of them worldwide bestsellers. His recent work includes Never Flinch, a #1 New York Times bestseller. Polly, a New York Times notable book of 2023. Fairy Tale, Billy Summers, If It Bleeds, The Institute, Elevation, The Outsider, Sleeping Beauties, co-written with his son Owen King, and the Bill Hodges trilogy, End of Watch, Finders Keepers, and Mr. Mercedes. An Edgar Award winner for Best Novel in a television series streaming on Peacock. I'm going to have to check that out. His novel, 11/22/63, was named a top 10 book of 2011 by the New York Times Book Review and won the Los Angeles Times Book Prize for Mystery Thriller. His epic works, The Dark Tower, It, Pet Cemetery, which is my favorite, Doctor Sleep, and Firestarter are the basis for major motion pictures, with It now the highest-grossing horror film of all time. He is the recipient of the 2020 Audio Publishers Association Lifetime Achievement Award, the 2018 PEN America Literary Service Award, the 2014 National Medal of Arts, and the 2003 National Book Foundation Medal for distinguished contribution to American letters. He lives in Bangor, Maine, with his wife, novelist Tabitha King. And it says SimonandSchuster.com, www.simonandschuster.com, author/Stephen King. All right. Oh, and you can sign up to get a free ebook, updates on new releases, etc., etc. Not today, my good friend. Oh. You like it darker. Stories. The end. Alright, we'll just mosey on out of there. I could have actually returned it. Alright, we're gonna head on over to Reddit. I'm just doing my homepage because I don't know exactly where I want to go, and I kind of like to mix it up a little bit. This one is a Reddit ghost story, The Woman in the Hallway. This is by Fancy Replacement 777. I am a 25-year-old female, and I remember the first time I saw the paranormal. When I was 8 years old, my family moved to Bismarck, North Dakota. We were a big family, 5 kids, and the duplex we moved into was old, cramped, and arranged in a way that never quite felt right. My brother had his own room, my parents had theirs, my 3 sisters shared a room, and I ended up in the storage room in the back of the house. It doubled as the laundry room, and my little bed sat tucked under the stairs like something out of a strange, forgotten corner of the house. Most nights after everyone fell asleep, I would sneak out the living room to watch South Park. Sorry, I had an incoming there, so let me see where we were. I'm just going to start at most nights. Most nights after everyone fell asleep, I would sneak out to the living room to watch South Park. I wasn't allowed to watch it, but my older brother had shown it to me once, and I was hooked. The path from my room to the living room was long and dark. Out from under the stairs, through the kitchen, into the hallway, where boarded up upstairs door loomed above the staircase. All the bedrooms, the bathroom, the front door, and a huge coat closet watched over that hallway like silent witnesses. One night, as I stepped out of the kitchen, the air changed. It wasn't just cold, it felt aware, heavy, like something was waiting. I froze halfway down the hallway. The hairs on my arms stood up before I even understood why. Then I felt it, eyes on me. Slowly, I turned my head toward my sister's room. She was standing there. A woman with bright red hair and a long white nightgown. Her body glowed faintly, translucent, as if she were lit from the inside. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just stared at me with an expression I still can't describe. Empty, but focused, like she was studying me. I couldn't scream, I couldn't run, I couldn't even breathe. I stood there for what felt like forever, trapped in her gaze. Then without a sound, she looked away, turned, and walked straight into my sister's room. That broke whatever spell I was under. I bolted back to my little bed under the stairs, dove under the covers, and didn't come out until morning. When the sun finally came up, I found my mom in the kitchen getting everyone ready for school. I pulled her aside and told her what I had seen. As I described the woman, the red hair, the white gown, my mom's face drained of color. She didn't interrupt. She didn't even blink. When I finished, she just stared at me, terrified. I asked her what was wrong. Her voice shook when she finally answered. Your sister said she saw the same woman last night, in her room, taped to the wall. That was the moment everything changed for me. My parents had always believed in the supernatural. They talked about voices, footsteps, the doorbell ringing when no one was there. I never believed them, not until that night. Not until her. True scary stories. This one is by MC Unity _ I stopped for a woman running in the road at 1:30 a.m. I still don't know what I saved her from or what I escaped. Update. I see a lot of people mentioning in the comments that this is AI. You guys are right. Like I mentioned, French is my first language, so I did explain the story in French and asked ChatGPT to rewrite it in English in a storytelling way for Reddit. But like I also mentioned, the story is 100% true, and I'm seeking for a theory or answer from you people, and not to get told that my story is fake and AI. My name is Christophe. I'm an 18-year-old guy living in Gatineau, Canada. For those who don't know the area, Gatineau is a pretty calm city right next to Ottawa. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Maybe it's Gatineau. About 15 minutes from downtown Ottawa, but on the Quebec side. I grew up speaking French, so apologies if my English isn't perfect. This happened about 2 months ago, and I still think about it almost every night. I had spent the evening at my girlfriend's place. She lives about 25 minutes away from me by car. I left around 1:30 a.m. on a weekday, so the roads were completely empty. No traffic, no people, just silence. I was about 10 minutes from home, driving down Rue St. Louis, a wide road with 2 lanes on each side running along a river. It's poorly lit. At night, your headlights are basically the only thing letting you see what's ahead. I turned at an intersection where there's a convenience store and a McDonald's, then drove another 100 meters. That's when I saw something in the road. At first, it was just a shape, a silhouette moving erratically in my headlights. Then I realized it was running, zigzagging right in the middle of the street. My first thought was that it had to be someone drunk or high. No sane person runs like that at night in an empty road. But as I got closer, the silhouette sharpened into a young woman. Early to mid-20s, maybe. She was waving her arms wildly like she was trying to flag someone down, like she was begging. And instantly my brain went somewhere dark. I thought about all those horror stories, the ones where someone pretends to need help, where stopping your car is the mistake you never come back from, so I decided not to stop. As I passed her, it only took a fraction of a second, and I saw her face. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't acting. She looked terrified. I drove another second, maybe two, then I did something that still makes my stomach twist. I slammed the brakes, made a U-turn, and went back. I stopped about 7 meters away and slowly cracked my window open. I didn't even get the chance to speak. She turned around and ran straight at my car. I panicked and rolled my window back up instantly. She grabbed the rear passenger door handle behind me and tried to open it again and again and again. The doors were locked. Through the glass, I could hear her screaming, "Call the police! Call the police!" My hands were shaking as I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. While it was ringing, I lowered my window just a few centimeters and said, Okay, calm down. I'm calling the police. You're safe." Something about that made her stop. She wasn't aggressive anymore. She wasn't erratic, just completely broken. She didn't look intoxicated at all, just pure panic. She told me she was going to walk back toward the convenience store in McDonald's I had just passed about 100 meters away. She started walking. I followed her in my car, barely moving about 2 kilometers an hour, still on the phone with the dispatcher. I explained everything. A young woman, running in the middle of the road, screaming for someone to call the police. Clearly distressed, but not drunk or high. By the time I finished giving our location, we reached the convenience store. Both the store and the McDonald's were closed. There was no one else around, just her and me. Under harsh gas station lights, she leaned against the wall crying, and for the first time I could really see her. That's when I noticed her hands. They were completely covered in blood, not smeared, not splattered, soaked. I've never seen that much blood in my life. Her clothes were stained too. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it. I asked her quietly, "Ma'am, are you injured?" She shook her head. "No." I swallowed and asked, "Is that your blood?" She looked at her hands, then said, "No." My mind went blank. If it wasn't her blood, then whose was it? Before I could ask anything else, there was a long silence, maybe 10 seconds. Then she broke. She started crying harder than before and said in a voice I'll never forget, "I'm so ashamed of what I did. They will never forgive me." Before I could even process with that man, a police car pulled up fast. 2 officers got out. One of them took my name and phone number and told me I could leave immediately. The other officer went straight to the woman. I didn't argue. I drove away. That was the last time I saw her. It's been 2 months. No call from the police, no follow-up, no news article, no missing persons, no crime reported anywhere. Nothing. My friends and I have tried to make sense of it. We've come up with theories, some of them very dark, like, for example, a infanticide, but every explanation falls apart somewhere. If the blood wasn't hers, that explains part of it. Her words explain another part. But why was she running in the road? Why didn't she call the police herself? Why was she alone? Why was there zero trace of whatever happened? Sometimes I wonder if I helped a victim. Other times I wonder if I knowingly stopped for someone who had just done something unforgivable. And sometimes I wonder if the scariest part of it is that I'll never know which one it was. People are still saying it's ChatGPT. Someone said, "Well, if this is true, I'm in." Really into it, invested, and the other person said, "Definitely ChatGPT." Reddit ghost stories. The experience. This one is by T036697. See how much time we have. Oh. Well, I guess we should go to our first music break. On this break, we have our California crew. We got Miss Tracy Cruz with Joyful Rain and Flowers and Candy, Fluid with I Love It, and Fred Johnson III with Sugar. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Your love flows through me like water from the rain. It flows right through me. You've cleansed my soul and washed away all the pain.
left hand. I'm ballin', making buckets back to back like I was Stephan. Better yet, I'm Philip Jackson, so don't treat me like the next man. And I'm kind of a real big deal, so don't be out here second guessing. Anyway, I make my pay and live this California lifestyle. Sunshine, loud packs, and chicks that love to get wild. That's how we do it every day. Slipping, sliding through the traffic on a mission for the day. Clearing marks about my way. Really got no time for y'all today. And all the craziness y'all talk, but never get your story straight. See me out here living great. I don't give a about all that hate. And when it comes to kicking game, I give you all that you can take. Trying to do it big, got no complaints. Every morning eating steak. They say I'm wrong for showing out, but I'ma do it anyway. Plus and thing ain't nothing bitch, cause I can do it any day. And it don't matter where I go, I always represent the yay. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm a tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. See me, I'm out here getting it and loving how I live. Best believe if I do something, I'm a stupid, do it big. And this hustling is my gig, so don't you ask me what I stand for. Stacking while I'm macking, trying to earn myself a couple Lambos. Yeah, you know them toys for them big boys. Emperor of sorts and all you other players decoys. Meaning you're not the real deal. Keep an appetite for dollars that I never miss a meal. All you suckers need to chill. I'm just trying to stack a meal and pull the baddest bras around and let us show they sex appeal. Little bit of Netflix, then we chill. Lose them clothes, keep on them heels. Working like a 9 to 5 and go right back to chasing skrill. I bring that real, never that phony. BS, y'all be stressing, put it down just like an OG. Perform these cookies, take flight. Some of y'all just out here acting, I'm a boss in real life. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm a tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Keep it more 100 than a C note. Hall of Fame spitting, representing with these pimp quotes. Don't try to front, you know this shit's dope. Question is, will I ever fail? My answer is no. I make this hustling look amazing. Put it down, doper than a blunt of purple hazing. Spicy on the mic, I bring the fire like a Cajun. Scoville, making haters sweat when I be blazing. Leaning to the side, haters everywhere. Yeah, I hear them talking, but they simply wasting air. Can't understand the reason that they stay in my affairs. But I'm major with my movements, getting money everywhere. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm a tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. I love it, so in love with this lifestyle. I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now.
When I met you, my life changed. Your love rained all over me. It was blissful, so special, essential. Life poetry, true beauty. We created, we made it. Reality, pure affection with expression. A connection was meant to be. You make me feel so good inside, like therapy for my mind. You make me feel so good inside. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must be love. I'm talking true, I'm talking real, and I felt it in my heart. It was like flowers and candy, understanding how you're standing really must
I don't even know you anymore. Oh, yeah. Changes moving through every day. Yeah. And I don't even know what we're fighting for.
Our brighter days turn to sleepless nights. Our loving ways have turned to endless fights, and we can't seem to compromise. We try so hard to make things right. Yesterday, we'll erase some turns. Can't be silent. Hands on side. You are my life.
Know what is really happening? Yeah.
Changes are moving through everything. Changes. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws and your scars. Because I love you too much to let you go. You help me grow. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws. Because I love you too much to let you go. You help me grow. I will accept you for who you are, all your flaws and your scars. Because I love you too much to let you go.
Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. The tension's overbearing. Wondering, are you coming back home again? To inspire fondness with love. Where did our love go wrong? My sugar. Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you. girl.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we completed our book, Stephen King's You Like It Darker Stories, and we've been getting into some Reddit. The Experience. This is a true story about two events that my ex-girlfriend and I experienced during the winter of 2017 near Gothenburg, Sweden. I was about 20 years old at the time. We were staying at my parents' house while they were away to look after our two family dogs. For context, my grandparents had passed away quite recently, only about 6 months prior, and we had moved some of their old furniture and paintings into the house. Most of their belongings were kept in my parents' bedroom, which is located diagonally to the left of the living room, always visible from where we sat. My parents had also placed my grandparents' small antique sofa in the hallway between the kitchen and the living room. The dogs absolutely refused to enter that bedroom. They would stand in the doorway, sniff the air tentatively, and then immediately back away. You could feel it yourself. There was always a heavy, oppressive atmosphere in that room. During our stay, both of us became very ill. I had it the worst, a brutal combination of strep throat and an ear infection. I felt like absolute trash. One snowy evening, we were lying on the living room sofa watching an old movie. I think it was Tropic Thunder. The dogs were curled up with us. My ex had fallen asleep and I was drifting off myself. Suddenly, from the direction of my grandparents' old sofa in the hallway, I heard someone clear their throat. A loud, deliberate ahem. I was terrified, but my first thought was, I'm so sick, this must be some kind of fever hallucination, but then I noticed both dogs. They had bolted upright, looking toward the hallway with questioning, alert expressions. I whispered to my ex, "Did you hear that?" She woke up and replied, "Yeah, I think so. Wasn't that you?" It definitely wasn't me. We were both spooked, but tried to brush it off. The next day, we were struggling with illness. I spent the day playing through the first two Witcher games, highly recommended, by the way, while my ex was resting and scrolling on her phone. At one point, I went to look for our oldest dog, Elsa. I checked every room and eventually forced myself into my parents' bedroom. She wasn't there, but I noticed something odd. A wire laundry basket was sitting perfectly flat and stable in the middle of the bed. It was a shallow mesh-like basket made of metal wire. I eventually found Elsa under a blanket in the living room. Evening came again. We were back on the sofa with the dogs, just trying to relax. Around 10:30 p.m., we decided to head to bed. The dogs followed us into my room and settled down. Just as we lay down, we heard a massive crash, something heavy slamming into the floor somewhere in the house. I yelled, "What the hell was that? Is someone breaking in?" I grabbed a knife from the kitchen, my heart pounding, and began a slow search of the house. I was terrified. Room by room, I found nothing. I started thinking, we must be going crazy. There's nobody here. Then I reached my parents' bedroom. The wire basket, which had been sitting securely in the middle of the large bed, was now upside down on the floor. There was no logical way for it to have moved, let alone fly off a soft bed with enough force to make that kind of noise. I told my ex, and she came to see it too. I don't remember much of what happened after that. We were just paralyzed with fear. I still think about those two events often. I have more stories from the house, but those two I can never explain. Horror stories. This one is by Maybe Intuitive. I should have spied on my neighbor. I need to get this off my chest. I live in your standard middle-class neighborhood, one where all the lawns are neat, green, and tidy, and there's virtually no crime. The neighbor to the left of me, a kind of older lady, is one of the sweetest women I've ever met. She's never been a problem. The neighbor to my right, however, is a different story. In all my years of living here, I've never caught his name. From rumors around the neighborhood, he's a divorcee with his longtime wife of 30 years. Apparently, he lost custody of both kids due to his tendencies, and since then he's stuck to himself. The issues arise, however, when the sun goes down. From my window at the dead of night, I've only ever seen one room lit in his house. His upstairs bedroom. From this room, I hear constant, awful, mechanical whirring. To me, it sounds as if he's crushing something hard, something thick, layered, and bony. It makes me sick thinking of what he could be doing in there. The worst part? My wife has never heard the sounds herself. Like clockwork, I jostle her awake, and by the time she's by the window, the sounds have ceased completely. It's as if he's toying with me, taunting me. I've devolved into tucking my daughter into bed and standing by my bedroom window in the total darkness of my house, until the sun once again rises and the light in that room shuts off. It has been months and I had enough. I had to get a closer look. I know how you're going to judge my next actions. I know you'll probably think I should have called the police or tried something safer. But you don't understand the unbearable morbid curiosity that's been gnawing at me like a disease. I had to know what was in that room. I was going to find out. I called in sick for work that morning and I staked the neighbor's house out. Patiently, I waited by the dining room window, kissing my wife goodbye and sending my daughter off to school. Patiently, I counted the seconds, minutes, hours it took until finally I saw the neighbor's car exiting the driveway. After waiting 5 minutes, ensuring he wouldn't return, I hurriedly exited my house and hopped his fence, tiptoeing to his back door. I gently tested the back doorknob, praying for an easy entry. To my surprise, the door gave way and opened. It had been unlocked. Immediately upon entry, I was thrashed by a putrid, rotten smell. The smell enveloped my head and made me instantly doubt my decisions to come in. Despite the smell, however, my curiosity got the best of me, and like a hook on my chest, I was drawn to the staircase leading to the second-floor bedroom. Slowly calculated, I took a step, one by one, making my way to the top. With each creak of the old weathered, cracked staircase, my brain screamed at me to turn around. Something deep inside me was telling me to leave. I was in danger. But something deeper in me told me to push forward. The sounds, the sleepless nights, the sheer unparalleled desire to see what was up these stairs ultimately propelled me to take my final steps and make it to the top of the staircase. Upon reaching the top, however, I instantly heard something. A dampened, weak groan. It belonged to a woman. I slowly made my way to the source of the sound, the bedroom. I stood there for a second. The door was closed. As I stood there, I felt the doorknob staring at me, egging me on to open the door and get to the bottom of what's been eating at me for so long. Before I could even think otherwise, my hand started moving slowly to the doorknob, mere inches away from contact. Then a voice. It was the woman. "Please, no, don't do this. You're not a monster. You can Take the kids back. Just let me free with my leg. I've already taken everything else. My eyes widened as my brain connected the dots. Was she the ex-wife? Did this mean... Before I could grasp the doorknob and see this horror for myself, my phone rang, startling me, making me jump back with an audible gasp. The woman realized it was not her husband and broke out into a desperate, panicked yell. At once she begged me to release her, that if I didn't, I was complicit and I was responsible for her torture. In the midst of all this, however, was my ringing phone. No caller ID flashed across the screen. Already knowing who it was, I clicked accept call and slowly raised the phone to my ear. A low, gruff, freakishly calm voice spoke. I know where you are. I know what you've seen. You think you broke in. I let you in. I played you like a fiddle. I meekly responded, I'm calling the police. I wouldn't do that if I were you, the voice responded. I'm sitting in the parking lot outside your daughter's school. For her sake, you should turn around and leave. You're bluffing. You can't escape your actions, I weakly stated, trying to convince myself more than anyone. 6602 Workshire Lane, 1241 Forest Road. As my wife and daughter's current locations rang through my ears, he continued. Your wife gets off work at 3 and picks your daughter up at 3:30. Your daughter has ballet lessons from 5 to 6, and you pick her up 5 minutes late every single time. Been watching you. You are not in control. If you know what is best for you, for your family, you're going to back away from the door, leave the house, and never speak of this to anyone. Understand? Before I could respond, the line cut and I was left standing there with the woman on the other side pleading with me. Stone-faced and without another word, I slowly turned around and made my way down the stairs. I exited the house and without looking back made my way to my own front door. It's been 3 weeks since that incident, and the metallic crunching sounds have continued. I feel stuck. I want to help the woman, but sitting here on my bed typing this next to my wife and my daughter in my arms, I need to prioritize my own family, no matter the cost. Yeah, very good story. Where's the update? Yeah, someone says this has to be a movie. I'm hooked. Please write more. Public Tap 236 said, yeah, that was good. Reminds me of Clive Barker kind of vibe. Like the true horror hasn't started yet, like she's in there missing a bunch of parts she started out with. Yeah, I don't know. How would she even still be alive? Glitch in the Matrix. Alright, Reddit, Glitch in the Matrix. Let's see who wrote this. bar_ad5474. Something strange happened when my daughter came home from school. Just had a strange thing happen and not sure what to think of it. Yesterday afternoon I was doing a few dishes and then headed outside to put away my Christmas decorations. While I was doing the dishes, my daughter came home from school, and just like every day, she came in the kitchen and I asked her how school was and she said it was good, and then I watched her walk away and head upstairs to her room. I even heard her close her door, so I grabbed my boxes and headed outside. As soon as I got outside, I put the boxes down and looked up, and my daughter was coming up the driveway. I thought it was strange. I asked her where she was, thinking she may have went next door for a second something. And she looked at me like I was crazy and said, I was at school. I told her I'm confused because she just came in the house and I was talking to her, and she said no, I just got home, and then rolled her eyes and chuckled as she walked away, now definitely thinking her mother's nuts. Laugh out loud, but I know 100% I saw her and spoke to her, so I'm completely confused. Sounds like a doppelganger. Chaos in motion. One said, my friend was making food for her young son, about 6-year-old at the time, and he said, wow, Mom, how'd you do that? Do what? Make 2 of you standing there. Freaked her out and me when she told me. That's when we found out little Jimmy was cross-eyed. And I didn't know what a mirror was. Not so relevant to OP pose, which sounds like a legit glitch, but I can make my eyes go outwards opposite to cross eyes, blah blah blah. Brilliant. Oh. Casey Cat 5 says, it's an imprint in the reality. I've heard it explained like this: if somebody does something every day the same way, like leaving the house at 6 a.m. to go to work every day, or coming home from school every day at 3:30, running in the house, running upstairs, then coming down to eat, the same pattern it imprints in the reality. That's where we get residual hauntings from. You have hauntings from real ghosts, and you have hauntings from imprints in time replaying itself. And according to Cynthia Sue Robinson, who is a physicist and explains this whole reality shifting thing, he said it's an imprint in time. Wow. Very interesting. Creepy encounters. Man in the Woods. This is by Expected Texas 52. Okay, so before I start this story, I want to give some context. I grew up in a town called Luther, Michigan, in the middle of the Manistee Forest. I'm talking small, like a population of 300 people. I lived with my grandpa at the time, and we lived in a small 1-bedroom cabin he built deep in the woods. And to even get to it, you need to drive down a 2-mile 2-track. 2-mile 2-track? What the heck? So needless to say, unless you know who my grandpa is or your family, no random person is going to accidentally walk into our front yard out there. So now that I painted the picture, let me tell you the story. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old or so, as I said, and it was a small 1-bedroom cabin. So my bedroom was actually the living room, and we had this giant window looking out to the front area of the house. During the day, you could see the driveway, the shed, my grandpa's project cars and trucks, and various farm stuff we had. But at night, pitch black, like someone put a black blanket over the entire house. My bed is positioned right up against this window, so I'd be sleeping right next to this window. As I said, it's small, so space was a premium. So I'd just curl up with my back against the window and fall asleep. I was a pretty heavy sleeper as a kid, so I'd be out the whole night. One night after I said my prayers and got ready for bed, my grandpa tucked me into bed and sat by the fire to read his Bible. Most nights he'd read his Bible till I fell asleep, then go back in his room and go to sleep himself. And this night was no different. He got in his chair, took out his Bible, and started to read, so I slowly fell asleep. I must have been asleep for maybe 3 or 4 hours when I woke up. My grandpa fell asleep in the chair and my back was hurting, so I turned around on my other side. So now my face was staring out the window, and I was about to just close my eyes and go back to bed when I swear I saw a silhouette of what looked like a man standing right outside the window. Keep in mind it was already pitch black out there, so this means he would have to be standing like inches from the glass. At first I thought I was seeing things, so I blinked a few times and it was still there. I remember feeling super scared, and I don't move. Maybe I thought if I didn't move, whoever it was would think I was asleep and just leave. But the shadow didn't leave, and once my eyes adjusted, I could in fact make out a man with stubble standing practically right against the glass. Again, I didn't move. The man then knew down where his face was at level with mine and looked right at me. I fucking started crying so bad I was shaking, and that woke up my grandpa. When my grandpa got out of his chair, the man took off into the woods. My grandpa came over, started to rub my back, and he asked what was wrong, and I told him what I saw. Now, I had a rough childhood, and if I lied to anyone, I'd get my ass beat, so he knew I wouldn't make this up. My grandpa turned on the house lights, went into his room, and came out with a shotgun and went outside. He was out there for probably 10 minutes, but felt like hours, and he came back in, and his face was spooked. My grandpa was a Green Beret in Vietnam. He doesn't scare, like, at all, but he looked freaked out. He came over to me and said he'll stay up with me tonight and even let me watch TV all night, which he never let me do. And the whole night he sat facing the door of the cabin with that shotgun. Morning came and the first thing he did was put curtains over all the windows. Then we went outside, and sure enough, there were footprints in the dirt leading out into the deep woods. After that, I wasn't allowed to play in the woods alone anymore, and my grandpa moved my bed away from the window. Now, about a week or so later, my grandpa was watching the news after dinner, and there was a story about a recently escaped prisoner was found near Becky Trail outside Luther. The 2-track that lead to my cabin was Becky Trail. He was hiding out in a hunting shack about a mile away from where we were. To this day, being alone in the woods at night scares the shit out of me. Yeah, me too. You never know what's out there in the darkness. Ooh, scary stories. Oh, well, the person who wrote it is deleted. The kids on IL Route 47 near Hampshire, Illinois. Terrifying. I've been driving trucks for 20 years. I've seen my fair share of weird stuff on the road, but nothing prepared me for what happened last night on Route 47. It was past midnight, the highway was empty, and the kind of empty that makes the headlights of your rig feel like a spotlight in a theater for no audience. I was halfway between towns, windows cracked for the cold, when I saw them. 2 kids, maybe 10, 12 years old. They were standing in the middle of the road like they belonged there, perfectly still. I slowed down, heart starting to pound, and as the truck rolled to a stop a few feet from them, I noticed their eyes. Completely black, not just dark, all black, no whites, nothing. Their skin was pale, almost gray under my headlights, and their clothes looked like they'd been washed 100 times. Faded and thin, but it was the eyes that got me. I've never seen anything like it. I felt it in my chest before I even knew it. I knew I shouldn't, but I wanted to help, and that's when they spoke. "Can you give us a ride?" The voices were flat, monotone, too polite, almost rehearsed. My stomach dropped. The hairs on my arm stood on end. Every instinct I have, every survival alarm in my head screamed no. I shook my head, forcing my voice to stay calm. Nope, sorry, I can't. They didn't protest, they just stared, and then for the first time I noticed how still they were. Not a blink, not a fidget, just waiting. And my chest tightened. I turned to grab a flashlight from the cab, thinking maybe if I got a better look, I could make sense of this, but I had to get a good look at them. When I turned back, they were gone, just gone. No footprints, nothing disturbed. I stood there frozen for a long minute, flashlight trembling in my hand. Later, when I got home, I checked my dashcam footage. I wanted to see them again, maybe prove to myself I wasn't losing it. The video showed the road exactly as it had always been. Empty. Nothing. But the audio was worse. Clear as day. Can you give us a ride? Please? Two tiny voices in the middle of a dead highway at midnight with nothing to be seen. I haven't been able to sleep since. I don't know who or what they were, but I'll never forget those eyes, and I'll never stop checking the back seat. Yes, the back seat. I had an experience once where I kept checking my back seat with my rearview mirror because I was afraid that whatever that thing was like in my back seat. I felt like it was with me, following me. But I never saw it again, so perhaps it stayed in that freaking building. Unexplained. This is by Just a Scared Soul. Title: Had this odd encounter with a man at a store. This happened a few months ago, but I still think about it from time to time. I was in Walmart with my boyfriend and our 2 children. There was a man that was seemingly following us, but not in a creepy way, if that makes sense. I usually don't pay attention to anyone in stores, but this man had a different vibe about him that didn't seem human to me. I don't know how to explain it, but his energy stood out from everyone else in the store. We stopped on an aisle to look at something, and the man was standing at the end of the aisle, and I noticed he kept glancing at us. There was no one else on the aisle with us. Some stuff directly in between us, and the man fell off the shelf, all of a sudden, and onto the floor. The man spoke up and said, "Well, that was weird." My boyfriend said, "Yeah, it definitely was. No one was standing there to move that stuff." The man replied, "Some things just can't be explained." He smiled at us, waved at our kids, and walked off. We didn't see him in the store anymore after that. We both looked at each other, and my boyfriend said, "Something felt off about that." I agreed. Later on, when we were on the way home, I was still thinking about the situation, and I asked him if he thinks that something in the universe was checking up on us or something. We both believe in the paranormal, so he just said, "Yeah, maybe." He could have just been a weird guy, but I don't believe that to be the case. I'm not sure what would be checking up on us or why. It was definitely an odd situation, I'd say. Scary short stories. Reddit scary short stories by That Actually Happened. A welfare check I never found an explanation for. I was working nights around 09 or 10, just after midnight. Dispatch sent me to a low priority welfare check. Front door open, no history at the address, quiet neighborhood. I arrived without lights or siren. Beige two-story house, porch light on, front door open about 6 inches, no damage, screen door still closed. I announced myself and went in. Everything looked normal, too normal. Couch straightened, shoes lined up, no smell, no signs of a struggle. The air felt warm, lived in, warm. Kitchen light was on, sink empty, 1 mug of coffee on the counter, still warm when I touched it. Dispatch tried the phone again, no answer. I radioed I was making entry and asked for backup, non-emergency. Cleared the first floor, back door was locked, deadbolt and chain latched from the inside. Upstairs, family photos on the wall, recent, kids, bedrooms neat. 1 room had a phone charging on the nightstand, warm to the touch. Bathroom light was on, fan running, steam fading on the mirror, no one inside. I shut the fan off and just listened. Everything sounded normal, but the timing felt wrong. I went back downstairs to wait. That's when the living room light went out. I didn't see the switch flip. The room just went dark. I checked the lamp. Switch was off. Backup arrived. We cleared the house again together. Same result. No people, no forced entry, nothing that made sense. We secured the front door, left a card, and cleared the call. Before we left, my partner pointed at the kitchen counter. There were 2 mugs now, side by side, both warm. Neither of us said anything. Years later, while reviewing old logs, for something unrelated, I noticed an addendum added 4 minutes after we cleared. Dispatch note: second 911 call from same address. Line open, breathing heard, disconnect. Well, that is weird. Super freaky. Ghost stories. Reddit ghost stories. This ghost story is by File Senior 974. The Boy in the Bush. My story goes back to 1985 when I was 17 and living the life of a hippie. Yeah, I lived on a hippie commune for 2 years while trying to sort out my life. I lived on a commune that was located on the edge of a national park. This commune is located in the northern rivers of NSW and was pretty infamous in its day. Anyway, getting on with my ghost story. It was a wet Saturday. 3 of us, Black Darren, an Aboriginal bloke who was a pretty cool dude, Dave, and me. We were bored shitless and decided to take a walk in the bush just for the hell of it. It was great. We yahooed, sang, whistled. Okay, we didn't do any of those things, but we were happy enough to be outside, stoned as maggots on good weed, and just wandered along an old disused fire trail. By this time my bladder was aching, so I told the other 2 to go on ahead while I pointed old Percy. I found a decent tree to pee against and was doing my business. The clouds were low, and the rain was drizzling as I stood there feeling good when out of the thin mist appeared this kid. Aged, I reckon, 12. He was dressed rather oddly, wearing a collarless shirt, shorts that were held up by braces, and bare feet. His hair was short. In fact, it looked as if his mum shoved a bow on his head and trimmed around the rim. His face was pale. He stood there for a few seconds before turning around and walking back into the bush. I fumbled at my fly as I shouted for him to stop. Darren and Dave came running, thinking I was bit by a snake or attacked by a iguana, or even worse, attacked by jumping ants, made them things sting like buggery. I stood looking around and told the lads what I saw. They didn't believe me, saying the weed we smoked was strong, so I must have imagined it. I didn't. That kid was real. Fast forward a few days and we were in the pub. Dave blabbered about what I saw to one of the old locals who called me over. The old fellow lived all his life in this town and came from an old timber-getting family. I reluctantly told him what I saw, and he looked at me strangely. I think I know who that kid might have been. Sorry, might have been? A boy back in 1924 went missing, the old fella, and his body was never found. That kid, I believe, who you saw was my father's brother. I went back there again, but never saw that kid again. True story. That is creepy. Kids are creepy. Period. I'm just kidding. No, they're not so bad. This one is a Reddit horror story by Express-Ice8409. And this person is in the top 1% poster, so he must be a good poster. This actually happened. In 2008, a woman living alone in Fukuoka, Japan, started noticing small things going missing from her apartment. Food from her refrigerator would disappear. Drinks she didn't remember opening were suddenly half empty. At first, she assumed she was forgetting. Stress, exhaustion, normal stuff. But the feeling that something was wrong wouldn't go away. Her apartment was small and always locked. There were no signs of a break-in. Nothing else was disturbed, just the food. Eventually, she decided to test herself. Before leaving one day, she set up her laptop to record the room, pointing it toward the kitchen and living area. When she came back later and watched the footage, she saw something she never expected. A man slowly climbed down from a cabinet above her closet after she left. He moved quietly, carefully, as if he'd done this many times before. He went straight to the fridge. Police were called immediately. When officers searched the apartment, they discovered a hidden crawl space above the ceiling, accessible through that cabinet. Inside was bedding, empty food containers, and personal items. The man had been living there for months, surviving off her groceries and hiding whenever she was home. He was arrested on the spot. The most disturbing part is that the crawl space was only inches above her ceiling. He could hear everything, every phone call, every shower, every night she slept. She never once heard him. To this day, the case is often cited as one of the most unsettling examples of how someone can be far closer than you think without even being seen. This is true. Reddit Ghosts. Confusing encounter with the mimic, I think, and this is by TessaTNT. Personal encounter. Me and my girlfriend were exiting my room as she went to the bathroom, and I had gone downstairs to go and just weigh myself since I was bored. 4 minutes later, I'm back walking upstairs as she's leaving the bathroom, and she looks at me scared and confused. Her account of it was that I was peeking at her through a door hinge crack and whispered her name, and then proceeded to walk off into the main bedroom's bathroom. She said it was exactly me, outfit and all. If I'm honest, I'm quite scared since I haven't had a paranormal incident at this house yet, and I've been here for 4 to 5 years. Based off my knowledge, I'm assuming a mimic, but at the same time, I have zero idea, as it also made a grunting sound towards her when she said my name. Obviously, assuming it was me. Help? Hopeful Pizza said, this seems to happen a lot. Sword TMNF says, has it? I don't usually have these forms of encounters, although she has had a history with stuff like that. He also says, does weather/temperature affect encounters? Miss Mo999 said maybe a glitch in time and space. Academic putting, that's creepy. Could be a deceased loved one reaching out. Doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Try to communicate with a recorder or use a camera and ask some questions. Lawrence Heights said, thank you for sharing your experience with us. Your girlfriend has had, in my opinion, a demonic encounter. Have other people apart from your girlfriend experienced paranormal experiences in the house? Sword TMNF said, other than her, to my knowledge, no. Steffi Lee 44 said, burn the house down and start completely from scratch because nope, I'm scared of the dark, nope. Official 200 said, cameras around the house if this is the only incident. Could be girlfriend was tired and mind assumes things. Domino's Mofo said, in my experience, they can but not necessarily haunt a specific place. I've had encounters with more than one. One just seemed to show up one day to my grandmother, now passed over, and I'll pray to the Lord and his angels and ask that he remove the unclean spirit from your home. Please do the same. Getting all serious in here. Ooh, it's an Am I the Jerk? Reddit, am I the jerk? Am I the jerk for banning my family friend and her son from coming over again until she replaces what her son broke? This is by Jim Trio 2025. Last year I finally got the final addition to a collection I started, and it's in a display cabinet that can only be opened with a key I have stored somewhere. And my family friend's 7-year-old son walked into the room where the cabinet is, and politely, I told him do not touch. Twice I caught him touching it, and I told him to stop, and all he did was smile. His mother didn't do anything to stop him. I politely told her to tell her son to stop, and all she said is, isn't it locked? He won't get into it. Stop being paranoid. The third time he grabs a chair and he has a metal fork which he tries poking the lock with, and I caught him, which startles him, and the chair fell forward, breaking some of the glass of the display cabinet, but luckily nothing was damaged. His father marched over, having been there when I gave the second warning, and takes his son in the other room. I inspect the lock and it wasn't damaged either. The father and son return, with the kid confessing his older brother told him to use the fork to pick the lock, so now 2 kids are in trouble. I look at my family friend saying she has to pay for the repairs, and she says, you shouldn't have such cool collectibles to entice him. I told her, I want you out of my house until you pay for the damage your son did. She says she has nothing to pay for, then leaves with her husband and 4 kids. I had someone I know who is good at repairing display cabinet glasses since help repair the damage, but am I a jerk for banning them because the family friend refuses to pay the repair and damage their kid caused? I don't think so. If you're not going to control your kids and you're just going to be disrespectful and say dumb shit, you shouldn't be at my house. And yeah, there's so many parents out there that do not try to look after their kids and just let them run all over the place. Muck. No, stand your ground and don't let her come back till she's got some freaking respect. We have an update here. Someone had asked, what do I collect? My collection is of geeky tikis, which are tiki glasses that are made to look like characters from movies and TV shows. Last year, my most recent addition was the Star Wars Landspeeder one that was a mini Luke and R2-D2. The update-wise, the friend I mentioned, she called to say she found out today that her husband had helped reimburse the payment I paid for the repairs. She asked, since her husband helped pay the reimbursement, can she and her sons come back over again? I asked if her sons are ready to apologize for both manipulating and the other, and not for listening to me, as well as she ready to apologize for not telling her son to stop going back and forth to the room where the tiki display cabinet is. She told me she and her sons have nothing to apologize for, and I told her then they are still banned from returning to my house until they give a formal apology. Her husband and daughters, who are very well behaved, can still come over. Then I hung up on her. Yeah, she needs to apologize for sure and learn some freaking respect. And teach your kids some freaking respect. It's really not that hard. Alright. Well, on that note, we are going to our second music break. On this break, we have Tracy Cruz with Electricity and Emotional Love, Fred Johnson III with After Dark, and I think I'm going to throw in a little surprise song. That Magdalena lady that I played with these tracks last week, I just listened to both her songs again and don't want to torture you guys with that, so I have one that I've been thinking about, so I think I'm going to throw it in to the mix. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Your love empowers me. It gives me the energy to move beyond my capabilities. There is no limit to what your love can do.
I feel chemistry. what to do. My heart is so confused. In the past, it's been put down, it's been shattered, and then I'm left without any clue to know the real truth about what I found. But with you, I found my common ground. Your love makes me emotional, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. You make me feel that love is real, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. Ever since I was young, my mom said love makes you strong when everything goes wrong and you can't go on. I believe the love you have for me surpassed infinity. That's why you're all I see. Your love makes me emotional, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. So emotional. 'Cause you're the one that makes me feel. Your love makes me emotional. Your love, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. So emotional. Love is real. Oh, 'cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. What you have is magical. We feel so emotional. You move me so I can't let go. I can't let go. You touch my soul, I can't let go. I can't let go. 'Cause what we have is magical. Your love's emotional. Your love makes me emotional. 'Cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. Can't you see you do something to me? Oh, I can't let go. You make me feel. Your love's emotional. So emotional. So emotional. It feels so real to me. It feels so real to me. It feels so real to me. You're the one that makes me feel. It feels so real, yeah. Makes me feel that love is real. Makes me feel, yeah. Emotional.
My driver pulls up in my limousine, ready to take me anywhere I want to be. I said, I want to go. Take me to a college scene. I'd like to go and dance, have drinks, and hunt the perfect date. Yeah. Living at the door. I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say, after dark.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Alright, so, those two songs, Only You and Falling Away, I believe was the other one, was Crimson Kiss. So on my music list, it only showed the title, it didn't show who the artist was, but now we know. Now we know who that was, and that was Crimson Kiss. Right, on that note, we're gonna get on back to our Reddits. Bad Energy Visible Ghost. This was posted 7 hours ago under Reddit Ghost Stories. This happened when I was in grad school in Minnesota. My 3 roommates and I moved into an apartment on University Ave. This fourplex building had the worst energy. Over the course of the year, bad things happened to everyone in the building. I won't go into all of the bad things that happened to all of us, but it was like every chance something could go wrong, it did. It really felt like there was a bad spirit in that building who was screwing with us every chance it could. One night I was laying in bed about 2 a.m., couldn't sleep. My bedroom was on one end of the apartment overlooking the street. All of a sudden, my door opens and a white figure floated slowly through the room and out the window. I was laying there and thinking, did I just see that? When all of a sudden my roommate, whose room was at the other end of the apartment with a kitchen, a hallway, dining room, and family room between us, appears at my door. He was as white as the apparition I had just seen and looked scared. He proceeded to tell me he was laying in bed, a white figure floats in through his window, floated across his bedroom, his door opened and it floated through the door and down the hall. We didn't feel anything particularly malevolent from the apparition we saw in the moment, but given all of the bad luck and bad experiences we had that year, it felt like the bad spirit that had been screwing with us all year was taking a victory lap. I couldn't wait to move out of that horrible place. And that was by Lakewoods 1. Reddit horror stories. Wow. This one sounds pretty damn creepy. This is by Pintyworth223. I delivered a package to a cabin in the woods. The basement had pictures of me. Say what, karaoke? I was still in high school when I started doing deliveries. Not the fun kind where you hand someone a pizza and they tip you $5 because you made it before the commercials ended. I worked for a local courier company that handled last mile stuff the big carriers didn't want to deal with. Small medical shipments, legal envelopes, and the occasional signature required box that somebody paid extra to keep out of the warehouse. It was a lot of driving, a lot of dead phone batteries, and a lot of pretending I wasn't nervous knocking on strangers' doors at night. My boss liked to say, "You're not a kid, you're a professional," which was easy for him to say, sitting behind a desk with a coffee while I was the one walking up dark porches and listening to dogs throw themselves at the door. That night started normal. A little too normal. I clocked in after school, grabbed the van keys, scanned my route sheet, and loaded the last few packages off the metal rack in the back. The warehouse smelled like tape and cardboard and exhaust. Someone's radio was playing softly in the office. Everything was routine. Then the office lady called me over. She didn't say my name, just crooked a finger like she didn't want to talk in front of anyone. "Last stop," she said, handing me a clipboard. "Signature required. Do not leave unattended." I looked at the address and my stomach did that little drop it does when something feels off before you can explain why. It wasn't the street name, it was the lack of everything else. No unit, no gate code, no notes, just an address and a blank space where delivery instructions usually live. "Where is this?" I asked. She shrugged. "Out by the lake, past the old logging road GPS should take you." "Why would someone need a courier for a cabin?" I asked, half joking. She didn't laugh. "Just deliver it, get the signature, and come back." The box itself was plain, medium size, heavy for its size, but not crazy. No branding, no fragile, nothing that screamed hazmat or medical. Just a printed label with the same address and a weird little sticker on the corner that said, "Recorded delivery, do not deviate." I'd never seen that sticker before. I scanned it, my handheld beeped once, then again, like it lagged. The screen flashed, confirmed, and then, for a fraction of a second, in process, like it was thinking. Then it went back to normal. I told myself it was just the scanner being old. I drove out as the sun dropped behind the trees. The van's headlights carved tunnels through the road, and my playlist kept skipping like the Bluetooth connection was annoyed. The closer I got, the worse the route became. Paved road turned into cracked asphalt, then into gravel, then into dirt track with puddles that reflected my headlights like flat black mirrors. There were no other cars, no mailboxes, no streetlights, the kind of place where the trees lean towards you like they're trying to listen. My GPS tried at first. It gave confident little instructions in its cheerful voice. Then about 10 minutes down the logging road, it stopped showing street names and started showing nothing but a blue dot floating in green. Continue for 4.2 miles. No turns, no landmarks, just continue. I muttered to myself, "This is stupid," and kept going anyway because that's what you do when you're young and trying to prove you're not scared. Around mile 3, my phone lost service completely. Not one bar, not even that sad SOS thing. I didn't like that, but it wasn't impossible. A lot of the area was dead zones. What I didn't like was the quiet. The longer I drove, the less I heard. No distant traffic, no occasional airplane, not even those random nighttime bird calls that usually make you jump. It wasn't silent. It was held, like the woods were waiting. Then finally, headlights hit a shape ahead, a cabin. Not a nice rental cabin, not a cozy porch and wind chimes cabin, a square old-looking cabin with weathered wood and one porch light that buzzed like a trapped insect. Sat back from the track behind a line of trees like it didn't want to be seen. And it was far from the road. Not long driveway far. Why would anyone do this to themselves? Far. I parked where the dirt widened enough to fit the van and killed the engine. A sudden quiet made my ears ring. I sat there for a second, looking at the cabin. No lights in the windows, just the porch bulb. No movement. I grabbed the box and the clipboard and walked up the path. The ground was uneven, roots under dirt, loose stones. The air had that lake smell, wet and cold and metallic, but the lake itself wasn't visible. Halfway up, I had the thought, if I trip and break my ankle out here, no one finds me until morning. I laughed under my breath because it sounded dramatic. Then I reached the porch. The front door was open, not cracked, open, like somebody forgot. Porch light buzzed and flickered, and every time it flickered, the inside of the cabin changed shape in the doorway shadow. A chair, a wall, a hallway. "Hello?" I called, trying to sound normal. No answer. I shifted the box in my arms and stepped closer. Right inside the door, taped to the wall at eye level, there was a piece of cardboard with thick black marker writing. "Delivery kid. I'm in the basement. Come down." Below that, in small letters, "Don't leave it upstairs. Signature required, right?" My throat went dry. That was a weird amount of attitude for a sign. I stood there for a second debating because every part of my brain was telling me absolutely not. But I also had a policy drilled into me by a boss who loved rules more than people. Signature required means signature required. And the handheld scanner logs every attempt. If you mark customer unavailable and bail, the office sees it. You get grilled, and you don't get trusted with the good routes anymore. It's dumb, but when you're trying to keep a job, dumb rules start feeling like laws. So I did the stupid thing. I stepped inside. The cabin smelled stale like cold wood and old smoke. The floorboards creaked under my shoes like the building was clearing its throat. There was a narrow hallway to the right, a living room to the left with furniture covered in sheets. The air was colder inside than outside. At the end of the hallway was a basement door half open. Dark beyond, and taped to the door another sign. Yes, this is the basement. Yes, it's weird. Keep going. A sarcastic laugh bubbled up in my chest, the kind you do when you're nervous and don't want to admit it. Okay, I muttered. Okay, quick in and out, signature and done. I pushed the basement door open the rest of the way. Cold air spilled up the stairs like a sigh. The steps creaked under my weight as I went down. I kept one hand on the railing, the other arm hugged the box tight to my chest like it could protect me. At the bottom there was a concrete floor and a single fluorescent light that buzzed. The light was the kind that makes everything look sick. The corridor stretched ahead. Not a typical basement with storage shelves and a furnace. A corridor. Long, straight, narrow, like someone had carved a hallway out of a basement and didn't want you to think too hard about it. And on both sides of that corridor, pictures. Dozens of pictures. All of me. My face went hot. I took a step forward without meaning to, like I could walk closer and prove it wasn't real. The first photo was me in my uniform hoodie standing by the van door at the warehouse, taken from across the lot. The next was me at a gas station earlier that day, leaning against the counter with an energy drink, my face turned slightly like I'd felt someone watching. The next was me at school. Outside, by the bike rack. That one made my stomach flip because the angle was higher, like from a second-story window. More pictures ran down the corridor, taped in a neat line like an exhibit. Me laughing with a friend in a cafeteria, me leaving my house, me in my room, looking down at my phone. That one should have been impossible. There was no window that angle could have come from. My knees went weak. I whispered, "What the hell?" The speaker clicked overhead. Not loud, not dramatic, just a clean little click like a microphone turning on. Then a voice came through, broad and flat, like the person speaking was staring at their nails. "Hey." I spun, looking up toward the ceiling. "Who's there?" I said, and my voice cracked on the last word. "Relax," the voice said. "I'm not going to hurt you. Yet." He sounded like an adult, but not old, maybe late 20s, early 30s, the kind of voice that has learned to sound calm on purpose. "You shouldn't be down here," I said. A pause. Then, like he was reading from a script, "You were invited." "I was told you were in the basement," I said, holding the box tighter. "I need a signature and I'm leaving." "Signature," he repeated, the word. Like the word amused him. "Sure, we can do that." I took another step into the corridor because apparently I hate myself. The pictures continued down the hallway, and some of them had little sticky notes under them. On time, always smiling, thinks he's a good guy, liar. The last one made my face burn. "Why do you have pictures of me?" I said. The voice sighed. "Because I'm thorough, and because you're predictable." "Where are you?" I asked. "Further down," he said, still bored. "Keep walking." I didn't. My feet stayed planted at the threshold of that hallway like they knew better. I'm not walking down there, I said. Just come up here. The voice clicked his tongue like I'd disappointed him. You came all the way out here, kid. Don't get shy now. Something in my chest twisted. Look, I said, forcing my voice steady. I don't know what this is, but you don't come sign, I'm taking the package back. Another pause. Then softer. No, you're not. And the basement door at the top of the stairs shut. Not slammed. Closed. A second later, I heard a crisp, metallic sound. A latch. Deadbolt. My blood went cold. I ran up the stairs and yanked on the basement door. I didn't move. It didn't rattle. It felt like it had been welded into the frame. I backed down the steps. Breathing hard, heart hammering. You locked it? I said. Good observation, the voice said. Now we can talk without you doing your little runner thing. I swallowed. Open it. After, he said. After what? The fluorescent light buzzed louder for a second, like it heard my question and liked it. Then the voice, still bored, said, After you tell the truth. My skin prickled. What truth? He sighed again. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't, I lied automatically. He made a soft sound through the speaker that could have been a laugh if he had believed in laughter. See, he said, that right there, that reflex. My mouth went dry. Who are you? Someone who's tired of people pretending, he said, and someone who's tired of you pretending you didn't cheat on your ex. The words hit me like a slap. I froze, because it wasn't just the accusation. It was the way he said it, like he'd been waiting to say it for a while, like it was the whole point. My face heated, my brain raced. That's none of your business. The voice hummed, unimpressed. It was her business. I gripped the box so hard, the cardboard creaked. How do you even... You want to know the scary part? He interrupted. It's not hard. People tell on themselves all the time. You're glued to that phone like a pacemaker. I stared down the corridor again. The photos felt heavier now, less like surveillance, more like evidence. I'm leaving, I said, and it came out shaky because I knew I couldn't. Sure, he said, right after the truth. My throat tightened. I'm not talking to you about that. Beat. Then, like he was reading another line off a checklist, okay, then we'll do it the hard way. A vent on the wall behind me clicked. Air pushed through it, cold and sharp, smelling faintly like damp earth and something chemical. Basement light flickered. My heart started to sprint. Stop, I said. Walk down the hall, he said. There's a chair. Sit. We'll have a nice little chat. You'll sign, I'll sign, and you'll go home. I'm not... Voice cut in suddenly, less bored. You are. And something bumped the corridor wall. Not the vent, not the pipe, the wall. Like someone on the other side had leaned into it. My body froze in place. My brain tried to picture the layout of the cabin and failed. There shouldn't be anything on the other side of that corridor. It was underground. It was foundation. It was dirt. The bump happened again, farther down the hall. Then again, closer. A slow, measured approach. The voice went back to board. I'd take the chair if I were you. I swallowed and forced my legs to move. Every step into the corridor felt like agreeing to something I couldn't undo. The pictures were closer now. The sticky notes under them felt like they were aimed right at my skin. Halfway down, I saw a photo I didn't remember existing. Me in my room months ago, lying on my bed with my phone held above my face. My ex's name visible at the top of the screen, my thumb hovering over a message I never sent. Under that photo, a sticky note read, I'm sorry would have been easy. My eyes stung. I kept walking because the hallway behind me felt like it had teeth. At the end of the corridor was a small room, just a chair bolted to the floor and a folding table with a pin on it. Above the chair, a small camera was mounted. its little red light on. It felt like being backstage at something awful. I stopped at the chair. The voice came through clear now, like the speaker in this room worked better. Sit. I didn't sit. What is this? I whispered. A conversation, he said. The kind you avoid. I looked around. No windows, no other doors, just the corridor behind me. I'm not confessing to you, I said. You're insane. Maybe, he said, bored again. Sit anyway. I didn't move. A pause, then quietly from the hallway behind me came a sound. A shuffle. A bare foot on concrete. My skin went cold. The voice said almost pleasantly, You're not alone down there. I turned slowly. At the far end of the corridor, in a fluorescent buzz, someone stood in the half-shadow. A man. Tallish, hoodie, hands in his pockets like he was waiting for a bus. I couldn't see his face clearly because the light kept flickering, but I could see that he was real. Not a voice, not a trick. I took one step forward, and then another. The voice said, He doesn't like liars. My heart slammed into my ribs. Stop, called toward the man, voice cracking. I'm a kid. I'm just delivering a package. The man didn't respond. He just kept walking, slow and calm, like he wasn't in a hurry because he didn't have to be. The voice sighed. We're wasting time. I backed into the room, palms up. Open the door. Let me go. The voice said, Sit. Talk. The man reached the middle of the corridor and stopped. He tilted his head slightly like he was listening to something only he could hear. Then he smiled. It was small and it didn't belong on a human face. He took his hands out of his pockets. In one hand, he held a utility knife. Not a big dramatic blade, box cutter, the kind you could buy at any hardware store. My stomach flipped. Okay, I said fast. Okay, fine. The voice perked up a little. See, that wasn't hard. I stumbled into the chair and sat because sitting felt like the only thing keeping my legs from collapsing. The man stopped at the doorway of the small room, leaning against the frame like he was guarding it. The voice came through like a teacher taking attendance. Tell me why you did it. I swallowed. Did what? A bored pause. Cheated. My throat tightened, my face burned. I don't want to talk about that, the voice said. Too bad. I stared at the table, the pen, the camera in my hands. My brain tried to think of a lie that would get me out, but every lie felt like it would make things worse. I whispered. I messed up. That's not an answer, the voice said. That's a bumper sticker. The man shifted slightly in the doorway. The utility knife caught the light. My mouth went dry. I liked the attention, I said, voice quiet. I didn't think it would become real. It was texting. It was stupid. I thought I could stop it before it mattered. The voice hummed, And your ex? I swallowed hard. She found out. How? He said. I flinched because the word was sharp. I left my phone open. She saw it. And what did you do? Voice asked, still bored. I felt my eyes sting. I denied it. The voice made a satisfied sound. Of course you did. I squeezed my eyes shut. I didn't want to be the bad guy. You already were, he said, and the boredom slipped from just a second into something colder. You just didn't want anyone to see you. I opened my eyes and stared at the corridor because tears felt unsafe in front of strangers. The voice said, Now say your name. My chest tightened. No. Poor tone returned immediately. Say it. I shook my head. No. The room seemed to quiet around the word. The man in the doorway stopped leaning. He straightened, slow. The voice sighed. Okay, we're doing the other thing. What other thing? I asked, panic rising. The man took one step into the room. I scrambled back in the chair, but was bolted. The chair didn't move. My shoes squeaked on concrete uselessly. "Stop," I said. "Stop, please." The man moved fast then. He grabbed the front of my hoodie and yanked me forward. His grip was iron. He smelled like cold sweat and damp fabric. I tried to shove him away. He slammed me down against the chair back. The pain shot through my spine like electricity. Then the box cutter flashed. I felt a hot sting across my forearm just below the elbow. Not deep enough to do something fatal. Deep enough to hurt. Deep enough to bleed immediately. I gasped and tried to pull away, but his hand pinned my wrist to the arm of the chair. The voice, still bored, said, "Consequences. Remember those?" I stared at the blood running down my arm in bright lines. My vision swam. The man leaned close, his face finally visible in the flicker. His eyes were open wide, too wide, like he hadn't blinked in a long time. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. The voice said, "Say your name." My throat worked without sound. The man pressed the blade lightly against my skin again. Not cutting, just reminding. I choked out her name. The second it left my mouth, the man stopped moving, like a switch flip. He released my wrist and stepped back, breathing through his nose. The voice sounded satisfied. "Good," he said. "Now we're being honest." I clutched my bleeding arm to my chest, shaking. The voice continued like it was casual. "Tell me what you said when she cried." My eyes widened. "What?" "You remember," he said. "You remember exactly." My stomach rolled because I did. I swallowed and forced it out. I told her she was being dramatic. The man in the doorway twitched like he didn't like that one. The voice chuckled softly, humorless. Classic. My breathing came fast and shallow. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, I'm telling you what you want. Just let me go." The voice said, "Sign first." I blinked. "What?" "The package," he said like I was slow. "Signature required." I stared at the box, still tucked under my arm like an idiot. I'd carried it down here the whole time. I fumbled it onto the table with my good hand. The cardboard smeared with a little blood. The clipboard was there too, which I hadn't noticed until now. Set neatly on the table like it had been waiting. There was a line already filled in under recipient, a scribble of a signature I didn't recognize, and a blank line under courier. The name wasn't on it, just courier. My hand shook as I picked up the pen. The voice said, "Sign." I stared at the line. This was insane. None of this made sense. Signing felt like agreeing that it did. But my arm was bleeding and the man with the blade was still in the doorway. So I signed. Just my first name, my usual scribble. The second my pen lifted, the basement door upstairs unlocked with a crisp click. I heard it through the ceiling like a distant gunshot. The voice said, "See? Easy." My eyes darted to the corridor. The man stepped aside like he was granting permission. I didn't wait for a second invitation. I bolted out of the room, down the corridor, slipping slightly on my own blood, where it had dripped. The photos blurred past me, my face, my life, my mistake, taped to concrete like trophies. The corridor wall bumped once as I ran, like something on the other side moved in excitement. I hit the basement stairs and took them 3 at a time. My injured arm burned with each jolt. My lungs felt too small. At the top, the basement door was open a crack now. I shoved it hard and stumbled into the cabin. The front door was still open. The night air hit my face like freedom. I sprinted off the porch, down the path toward the van, keys rattling in my pocket like teeth. Got the driver's door and yanked it open. I climbed in, slammed it shut, and locked it out of pure instinct. My hand shook so badly, I noted, stupidly, that I was getting blood on the steering wheel. I jammed the key into the ignition, the van started on the first turn, headlight flared across the cabin, and in the bright cone I saw something that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. A new sign taped to the inside of the open front door. Fresh cardboard, fresh marker, it read, "Good talk. Drive safe. Don't cheat again." And beneath that, smaller like a little afterthought, "Check your mirror." My breath hitched. I looked up at the rearview mirror. At first, all I saw was darkness of the road behind me. Then a shape moved. Someone was sitting up in the back of the van. Not where passengers sit, in the cargo area. A silhouette behind the metal mesh partition had tilted like it was curious. My heart stopped. I slammed the van into reverse without thinking. The tires kicked gravel. Van lurched backward and bounced hard, like I hit something. The silhouette in the mirror jolted with it. I heard a thud behind me, then a low, irritated sound, almost a laugh. I threw it into drive and floored it. The van fishtailed on the dirt, caught traction, and tore down the logging road, branches whipping the sides like hands trying to grab on. I didn't breathe until I hit a wider stretch and dared to look in the mirror again. The cargo area was empty. No silhouette, no movement. Just my packages shifting slightly with the turns. I kept driving anyway, faster than I should have. My arm soaked my sleeve. My vision kept blurring at the edges when I blinked. When I finally got back into cell service range, my phone buzzed like it had been holding its breath. A notification popped up on my lock screen, unknown number. "You did great." Then another. A photo attachment. I didn't open it while I drove. I refused. I didn't want to see anything else. I pulled into the first brightly lit gas station I found and stumbled inside, clutching my arm, trying to look normal, trying to look like a kid who fell off a bike. The cashier asked if I was okay. I nodded. I bought paper towels. I wrapped my arm until the bleeding slowed. In the bathroom mirror, my face looked pale and wrong, like I'd aged a year in an hour. Back in the van with the lights buzzing overhead and the smell of hot coffee in the air, I finally opened the photo. It was a picture of me, sitting in my van at the gas station, taken from outside the driver's side window. My head turned slightly like I'd sensed it, and in the reflection of the glass behind me, you could see a faint shape in the cargo area. Just a hint of a face, just a hint of eyes. Under the photo, typed in plain text, was a single line. "Honesty looks good on you. Keep it." Well, that was longer than expected. Holy shnikes. I think we got time for one more, unless it's that long. Pretty good story. I wonder who was in the back of the van. Was it the man with the utility knife? We'll never know. I was stalked by a skinwalker. True scary stories. This is by secret_excuse 7439. I've been thinking about this for years. Me and my family have never came up with an explanation for it or how it could possibly be debunked. From what I can read, around 8 at the time this happened, so it could have been a part of my imagination, but I highly doubt it. The story starts when me and my family had planned to stay at my grandparents' over the Christmas holidays, like we have done for years. My grandparents live in a very isolated area. They are mostly surrounded by empty fields of land my grandfather owns or other farmers near the area owns. Because of this, there weren't any parks or other kids me and my siblings could play with, and we didn't have much to entertain ourselves other than play hide and seek in the extremely overgrown grass or sit in my grandfather's tractor. One evening after we had finished dinner, we asked our grandma if we could go back outside, which she said was fine, but we must not go too deep into the fields, and if we did, to just wait until she found us. So like usual, me and my siblings were playing hide and seek before I realized I could no longer hear their footsteps, and I had gone too deep. I no longer knew where I was, but I could merely make out I was around 2 entire fields away from my siblings, and that my grandparents' house was on my far left, but I still stayed in place because I was scared of accidentally going deeper into the fields and getting into bigger trouble. Eventually, I heard another pair of footsteps. They were fast and coming from my right before I heard what sounded like my older sister call out my name. It sounded close by, but even through the thin grass, I couldn't see her. Obviously, being a child, I followed my sister's voice despite it being on the opposite direction of my grandparents' house. I followed the voice for what I can remember was close to 20 minutes. Each time her voice felt further and further away. Suddenly, while I was walking, I recognized a certain tree in the distance. It was then that I knew I was on another farmer's plot of land that I was forbidden to go into. Whatever I was following was not my sister. My sister was a stern follower of my grandparents' rules and would never dare to go out of my grandfather's land onto another farmer's. Never in my life have I felt such a horrible feeling in my stomach. I bolted back into the direction I came. I could still hear rustling behind me. It was terrifying. I could hear that thing call out my name, but it sounded more and more sinister, like grunts and gurgle in between every breath. A nearby elderly couple found me after I was curled up on the floor hiding beneath the grass. They took me inside and had called my parents to tell them they had found me. It turns out all of my other siblings, including my older sister, had gone back inside apart from my little brother after the first 10 minutes of being outside, and they had assumed I was still playing. What felt like 30 minutes was actually 3 entire hours. I had walked 8.5 miles. My parents were close to filing a report before I was found. Since that day, I never went back into the fields, and still when I visit, I keep far away from them. Well, that sounds like a very good idea. Well, I think that's the end of our Reddit ghost stories for this evening. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Ghost stories, scary stories, true stories, hoary stories. I can't even talk anymore. But, thank you so much once again for hanging out with me tonight. It was a pleasure hanging out and entertaining you. Thank you to all of my friends out there, wherever you may be listening, Beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time and I can't wait to do it again. Hopefully sometime this week before the weekend. This coming weekend we have Psychic Chris Garcia on, I believe, on Saturday. And we'll probably pick up another scary book to read on Sunday. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Together we can make the world better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you have the means, ability, or initiative, and if you believe in what I'm doing here, or, enjoy it in the least, feel free to sling or fling some green my way, as it would really help me to keep the mothership afloat. Places you can donate are by mail at P.O. Box 663, Bayfield, Colorado 81122, Cash App at $TessaTNT, PayPal at TessaTNT, and Venmo at Tessa-Thomas-Peterson. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend, and I hope the week ahead is kind to you. Don't take life too seriously. Try to enjoy every day, because we are not promised tomorrow. Nighty night, love and light. Take care of my yous.